You went to Japan when it was still like COVID restriction era time frame. So
Yeah. So
yeah, how was that like? Because that had to have been kind of.
So it was really
Mixed
interesting
bag.
actually, because like COVID, oh man, because like COVID hit when we were on the Mute. That's when it literally, because like when we left, and then it hit. So like we came back and we had no idea what it was. By the time we went to Oki, once we got there, it was actually like there was not a single positive case in all of Japan, like on like at least on the island of Okinawa when we first got there. But like a quarter of the way or like halfway through, there was a unit from Hawaii, a Victor unit that came out there, and somehow they managed to travel all the way out there, and their entire battalion did not do any COVID tests, and they showed up and had like 70 positive cases of COVID.
My God. Yeah.
So, like all of like the Okinawans and everything were like pissed at us, and the bases got shut down because they ended up spreading COVID and bringing COVID to Okinawa when there wasn't a single positive case. So it was definitely weird over there, because at first like we got to like go out and like do a lot of things, and then it turned into a whole bunch of restrictions because we were kind of like restricted to the bases. At first it was like minimal restrictions, and then it became like full lockdown, and then to the point to where like almost the entire company and like half the battalion was in quarantine.
Yeah.
Where we literally had an entire barracks was just quarantined for like a week.
Yeah.
So it just kind of turned into a huge party.
So I got out like right before, because like I was on the like 2020, December of 2020 was when I got out. So I didn't really like see all that like much that happened with like the military in COVID. But like, because like if I had it right, if like one guy had could you just like articulate for me what exactly was like the barracks life, or like how, I don't want to say ridiculous, but I mean a lot of people don't exactly like how the COVID stuff was handled. But like I heard like if one roommate had it, then like both roommates had to quarantine, and then like one would not have it, and then one would get it, and they'd have to stay there again. And you'd see like platoons would be like half filled, everybody's wearing masks everywhere, and it sounds like you guys had none of those issues from the beginning. Like you could go do whatever, go out in town, maybe wear a mask or social distance from everything. But then it like gradually just got to full quarantine, like you said.
Like I said, like once we got to Oki was in around, because that was around 21, so COVID had like kind of started to die off a little bit.
Yeah.
And so like once we got there was like no restrictions. There was nothing as far as like social distancing or anything like that. Like we didn't really wear masks. Like we had to get tested before like we flew out, and once we got out there and everything. But then it became like really like big on, because like I said, like there was no restrictions when we first got there, and then it definitely turned into like wearing masks, like social distancing again, like in the PX or any buildings, unless you were in like outside in like the open environment, like you had to have a mask. And then the barracks life, so like close contacts was like a huge thing. That's how like we ended up like quarantining like the entire barracks, because it like we had the 4-man rooms. It was like 2 conjoined rooms. Yeah. So like if one person got it,
I forgot about that, because the Oki rooms were bigger. So
it was like 2 rooms. Well, 2 rooms, and so each one had 2 roommates, and then there was a connected bathroom. So if one person got it, then all 3 of these people were close contact. So then they all had to quarantine. Yeah. And then by the time that they got over it, somebody else caught it in the room. So then it was just a constant, it would just keep stacking up like the close contact, and we would keep quarantining, basically to where they were just like, hey, let's get ahead of it, and they quarantined the whole barracks.
Okay, yeah, which I suppose checks out, because like if you think about that, if like one person gets it and then it goes to the next it's like that's like probably a month or 2 of just one room getting it, and before you know it, that's literally an entire chunk of a deployment, just where like an entire team has to stay.
Yeah, 100%. Like it literally, it was like around like a 2-week period where like the whole barracks, we didn't do anything. We literally like there was
legally you couldn't do anything.
No, we couldn't even like leave the barracks. Like the headquarters company would like bring up like carts of like to-go trays, and they would like drop them in the lobby, and it was like Lord of the Flies. Like people would like come and get like the trays and like just go back into their rooms and eat food. We weren't even going to work. Like people were just like walking around the barracks in like silkies at like at all hours of the night and everything. Like
that had to have been, I can't imagine like being I was gonna say officer, but I suppose any Marine leader, because it's like I mean, whatever opinions you may have about like the whole COVID thing, it's like, how do you manage something like that where it's like you have like half your workforce like inactive, like, you know, swapping in and out like that. And then if you have like, how do you even train or do anything useful like while you're out there? That had to have been weird.
I definitely think it was a confliction point. And I could only imagine like how like the higher ups and everybody felt because it was, like I said, like literally like basically the whole battalion was kind of on stand down because we didn't have enough people that could even do anything or get any kind of vital training done because everybody was just on stand down. Like it was for a short period of time, I'd say. Like it was only a couple of weeks, but if you look at it in like bigger picture, like an entire battalion stood down for a couple of weeks and we were just kind of like
that's
messing around in the barracks. It's like, but we couldn't really do anything about it because like I said, it was like leapfrogging from room to room, so they just had to try to get ahead of it and quarantine everybody.
Now, were there any, because I don't know culturally what it did in terms of like that would have made fun of, like, this is going to sound very terrible of me to articulate, but like, for example, when we were on the boat and on the baton, we thought we had a case that popped up, for example.
Yeah.
So like we did the social distancing. We had some people like react terribly. Like when we were cleaning our berthing, like we had a guy like wear like his gas mask and stuff like that. Like, was there any funny jokes or just like, or any funny like opportunities that were taken advantage of with like either the quarantine or like COVID being a thing? I know that may not be the best way to like describe it, but like, do you know what I'm hinting at or trying to get at?
Yeah, like during like in Oki or on the Mew?
Well, I was thinking Oki, but either or, just because like I wasn't really in like when COVID was a thing, so like I don't really know how like it affected or like what it like brought out from the military. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there was a lot of things, man, because it was definitely it was weird seeing like once it was like COVID was like a huge thing when it first happened and everybody was like really freaking out about it. And but like on the ship I remember because like I remember we were like sitting there and like eating, like we were eating and like I remember watching the news and we saw all this stuff and we were like laughing because we thought it was like fake.
Yeah.
And like so like on the ship because I remember then they were like, oh no, this is actually real. And I remember like cutting up like plain, we had like found people that had like plain skivvy shirts and we were like cutting them up and making masks and we were like having to start the social distance and everything.
That. People did that. Oh my god.
Yeah, there was like a picture of our buddy Smith Kyle. I actually was looking at it earlier because he had like, it was like the day that they told us to like make masks and we were like, this is a joke. And like guys were just having fun with it. Yeah, dudes were putting on gas masks and like cutting up t-shirts and like wrapping them around their face, like making bandanas and everything. And he had like a sign. He was like, send me to war, send me home is like what it said on it. And he was just like sitting there wearing like a cut up t-shirt on his face. He was like, man, we're done with this. But yeah, in Oki though, it was definitely, it was weird because that was when it got into the point where it was like mandatory for like the vaccinations and everything. I remember like us like all standing outside of like BAS, like an entire company standing outside of BAS, but we're all like social distancing and we're like in a hallway and they're literally just like on an assembly line and just people just getting stuck with needles. And then they were like, oh, now you need like this booster, or you need like this next shot or whatever. And like, we had like our COVID cards and we're getting like stamps and we were just kind of like, what is going on? Like it just like seemed surreal. Like it didn't trying to like kind of grasp what was actually going on.
And I think that's like the whole, it's a pretty good, because it's weird to think that we're 5 years, we're half a decade removed from 2020, but I feel like that's like the perfect sentence to articulate it, because it was like the world of like 2019 versus like 2020. I feel like is just like marked like that's the beginning of the movie that is like the crazy times we live in now. It's like we don't know what's going on, but like we're just see it happening, and it's like this it feels so different compared to what, like, you know what I mean? Like it feels so different compared to what happened like but before we were on that ship.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, because seeing all that like come to light, because I remember when like we first got back from the Mew, because like we didn't really have any positive cases while we were on the Mew and everything, except for like I think there was like one or two that popped up on another ship, but it was from some people that had like flown in or something. But then I remember coming back to the States and kind of like around that time, like when you were getting out and everything, I remember how bad it was like on Lejeune, because that was that was the part that was kind of like a wake up call, like seeing like and like looking back on it, like
which let's be honest, I mean, like, is it really that surprising that Lejeune has a disease outbreak? I mean,
it's definitely between the who knows what's next after the water and everything.
Oh yeah, but say like you're like I'm surprised they haven't addressed anything else sooner, like between like the LSD cases, the COVID, the water, which like I'm still convinced has not been fixed.
I doubt it. Yeah. I still wouldn't trust any of the water on Lejeune, especially.
Yeah, like if regular civilian water that's like we're told to like use water filters, you know very well like Lejeune, Pendleton, you know, they're maybe Pendleton's a little cleaner than Lejeune, but let's be honest, you probably need a few filters.
100%. Yeah, and I remember that was really bad. But like I remember like coming back to Lejeune and like seeing like how bad it really was, and like the chow halls were like all closed. It was all like just like walk through windows, and like the PX, everything was like social distancing. There was like X's on the floor everywhere you went for like lines and stuff. It was crazy like how much it like really affected just kind of like the day to day, and like we weren't like really allowed to go anywhere or do a whole lot just because it was such a big thing, and like no one really knew how to address it or go about it just because it was just something so new.
What's crazy about it, and I feel like, I don't know why, but I feel like it's not too gloomy, but the conversation took a really like interesting turn here with the stuff. But do you almost feel like it kind of I don't want to say ruined, but yeah, I guess I could say ruined, like ruined part of like the Marine or the military experience? Because one of my junior guys, he shout out to Davis, by the way, he the timing of it was so bad. He didn't have like an actual ball to go to, like an actual Marine Corps ball birthday to go to, him or any of his peers.
Yeah, like, most definitely. Because that was because I actually know Davis, but that was one of the guys I couldn't remember earlier when we were talking about him. But I think it definitely changed a lot of guys' like careers and a lot of people's outlooks, because it was like when they started like making like the vaccinations mandatory, there was like a lot of people that like wanted to like get out, and they were like refusing the vaccination, and then later on some of those guys some of the guys like got kicked out, some people never got kicked out. And then some of them got brought back. So it was just like, it was a really weird time. And like with the ball and everything, because there was guys that were coming in for entire contracts and they never even went to a ball. Because like we were doing like cake cutting ceremonies and wearing like our alphas, like our like service alphas and stuff that like, that was something we did in Oki, because it was like we weren't allowed to have like an actual ball or something. So we like went to like the movie theater. Like on base, and we were wearing like service alphas, and we did like a cake cutting ceremony and like sang like the Marine Corps hymn.
Please tell me they had like the Pacific or something playing like in the back, like something motivating at least.
Yeah, they like I think it literally lasted like it was like such a quick thing. Like we literally were in there, and like I remember like we like sang like the Marine Corps hymn, and they were like, okay, that's it. I don't even think like everybody like they had like one cake or something like that. Some of us were just like, can we go now? Like, we just ended up leaving, and they're like, yeah, that was like your ball. So that was like a lot of guys like experiences. I definitely think that it altered like a lot of guys' experiences, and like kind of like changed like how some people like thought or like had like their outlook, I would say. Like,
it was almost would you say underwhelming? Like it made it feel that way?
100%. Yeah, I definitely think that it was like that for some guys and everything. Like that was because I stayed in like, so like I like went to another unit like once I left 2A and everything, and I was able to see like a kind of just like a different side of things, and just like post COVID, like I watched like the whole like rise and fall of it, like in like the military, like how when it was like really bad, or like when it didn't exist and when it got really bad, and then kind of like started to die down again, and then it like got like on the tail end of it. So it was definitely a lot of people, I think it like kind of like altered their outlook, and they kind of got out because of it. So I think it definitely